My dear friends, one of the simplest medicines for stress is humor and gratitude. But sadly, when problems come, these are the two things we forget the most. We become so serious, so heavy, that we stop laughing and we stop appreciating what's still good in our life. Tell me honestly, how many of you have had moments where you were so stressed that even someone cracking a joke couldn't make you smile? You thought, don't laugh, I'm suffering, how can I laugh right now? A pause, smile. But the truth is, laughter is not an insult to your pain. Laughter is a healing balm. Humor doesn't mean you ignore your problems. It just means you give your mind a break from constantly chewing on them. Once, I was sitting with a group of corporate employees. They were all stressed, worried about targets, deadlines, and office politics. One of them said, Swamiji, we don't even have time to laugh. I looked at them and asked, do you have time to cry? They laughed and said, yes, that we do all the time. And I told them, if you have time to cry, you definitely have time to laugh. It's a choice. Humor has a magical power. It turns stress into lightness. Imagine you are carrying a heavy bag. If someone adds even one more stone, you collapse. But if someone cracks a joke at that exact moment, what happens? For a few seconds, you forget the bag, you laugh, and the weight feels lighter. Did the bag get lighter? No, but your heart got lighter. That is the power of humor. And then comes gratitude. My friends, gratitude is the art of focusing on what is left, not on what is lost. Stress is always about what's missing. Gratitude is always about what's present. If you wake up every day thinking about what you don't have, you will always be stressed. But if you wake up and say, thank you for what I do have, my health, my family, my opportunities, my breath, suddenly life feels abundant. Let me share a beautiful story. A man once lost his wallet with 500 rupees in it. He was devastated. He kept crying, I lost 500 rupees. I lost 500 rupees. His friend said, stop focusing on what you lost. Think about what you still have. You only lost 500 rupees, but you didn't lose your life. You didn't lose your health. You didn't lose your family. You still have so much more left. The man realized his mistake. He had been crying over what was gone and ignoring what was still with him. Gratitude is like wearing new glasses. Without it, everything looks blurry, dull, negative. With it, suddenly life becomes brighter, clearer, more meaningful. And when you combine gratitude with humor, stress doesn't stand a chance. Think about this. How many of you have problems right now? Raise your hands. A pause, look at audience, good. Almost everyone. Now how many of you are still alive, breathing, sitting here listening to this speech? All of you, that means your problems have not finished you. You are stronger than them. And for that alone, you should be grateful. Life will never be perfect, my friends. But it will always give us reasons to smile and reasons to say thank you. A grateful heart cannot be stressed for too long, and a joyful heart cannot be crushed for too long. So, next time you feel stressed, do two things. First, laugh at yourself, at the situation, at life's little ironies. Second, give thanks for what is still good, for what is still working, for what is still beautiful. And you will see the problem may remain, but the burden will disappear. Remember, stress makes you forget what you have. Gratitude makes you remember. Stress makes you serious. Humor makes you light. And when you are light, even heavy problems can be carried with ease. My friends, one of the biggest reasons we get stressed is because we spend 90% of our time staring at the problem and only 10% of our time thinking about the solution. And sometimes, not even that, we keep repeating the problem again and again in our mind like a broken tape recorder. Tell me honestly, how many of you have done this? Something small goes wrong, and suddenly your mind says, why did this happen? How could this happen? Why always me? And then you repeat it 200 times a day. The more you think of the problem, the bigger it looks. It's like a magnifying glass. The more you stare, the larger it gets. But friends, stress doesn't come from the problem itself. Stress comes from our obsession with the problem. The solution is always there, but we can't see it because our mind is so busy worrying. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you are driving your car and suddenly a small red light appears on the dashboard. It's a signal that something is wrong. Now you have two choices. One, you panic, stop the car in the middle of the road, start crying, and call everyone you know to complain. Oh no, a red light. Why me, God? Or two, you calmly take the car to the mechanic, find the cause, and fix it. The red light was never the real issue, it was just an indicator. But if you stare at the red light and don't act, you will remain stuck. Similarly, problems in life are indicators. They tell us something needs fixing. But if we only panic and complain, we'll never move forward. There's a famous story of two men stuck in a desert. Both of them had a little water left in their bottles. The first man kept crying, "Oh no, I only have one sip left. I'm going to die. This is the end." The second man looked at the same bottle and said, "I still have one sip left. If I use it wisely, maybe I can survive until help comes." One focused on the problem, the other on the solution. The one who focused on the solution lived longer. This is how life works. Problems come to everyone. The difference between those who succeed and those who collapse is not the size of their problems. It's the size of their focus. Successful people focus more on solutions, and failures focus more on problems. Even in relationships, this happens. A couple has a small misunderstanding. Instead of solving it, they keep thinking, why did she say that? Why did he do that? Why is he like this? Why is she like that? They keep feeding the problem with their thoughts, and soon it grows so big that it feels unmanageable. But if they paused and asked, okay, this happened. Now how can we solve it? What's the next step? The problem would shrink immediately. The mind is very powerful. Wherever you put its energy, that thing grows. If you keep pouring energy into your problems, they grow larger than life. If you pour your energy into solutions, suddenly doors start opening. Think about inventors and scientists. When the Wright brothers were trying to build the first airplane, they faced thousands of problems. If they only kept saying, it's not working, it's impossible, they would have given up. But every time something failed, they didn't stop at the problem. They looked for the solution. And today, because of them, we all can fly. Friends, remember this. You can either complain about the dark, or you can light a candle. Complaining never solves anything. Complaining is like rocking a chair. It keeps you busy, but it doesn't move you forward. Solutions, on the other hand, change everything. So next time stress enters your life, ask yourself, am I staring at the problem or searching for the solution? If you switch your focus, you will switch your future. Problems will no longer feel like heavy mountains. They will feel like stepping stones, guiding you to the next level of your life. Don't magnify the problem. Magnify your ability to find solutions. That's where real freedom from stress begins. My dear friends, one of the biggest causes of stress in our lives is attachment. We hold on too tightly to people, to possessions, to outcomes, to situations, and when they slip out of our hands, we break down. Now, Please understand me carefully. Detachment does not mean you stop loving. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. Detachment simply means you care deeply, but without clinging, without the fear of losing, without making someone or something your entire identity. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're holding a bar of ice in your hand. If you hold it gently, you can enjoy its coolness for a while. But if you squeeze it too tightly, what happens? It melts faster and leaves your hand cold and wet. In the same way, when we hold on too tightly to people, things, or situations, they slip away even faster, and we're left with nothing but pain. We all have attachments. A student gets attached to marks. If he gets good grades, he feels on top of the world. If he fails, he feels like his life has no value. But are marks permanent? No. Exams will come and go, marks will rise and fall, but life is much bigger than a report card. Detachment means, yes, I will study hard, I will do my best, but I will not attach my entire self-worth to a number or look at relationships. Love is beautiful, but when love turns into unhealthy attachment, it becomes suffocating. A young boy once told me, Swamiji, I can't live without her. If she leaves me, I will die. I smiled and said, my dear, before she came into your life, were you alive or not? He said, yes, I was. I said, then you will also live after. Don't make someone else the source of your existence. Love is meant to add joy to your life, not take away your peace. Detachment means, I love you, I care for you, but I am complete even if you are not around. Even in material things, we over-attach. How many of you have bought a new phone and for the first week treated it like a baby? Pause. Laughter, you don't let anyone touch it. You clean it 3 times a day. You put 3 covers on it. And then one day, it falls and gets a scratch. That little scratch destroys your mood for the whole day. Why? Because of attachment. If you had been detached, you would enjoy the phone, but you would know it's temporary. One day it will break, one day it will be replaced, one day you will upgrade. Friends, everything in this world is temporary. People, possessions, power, positions. If we cling too tightly, we create stress. Detachment teaches us to hold everything lightly, with gratitude, with appreciation, but without desperation. There's a beautiful story of a monk who was traveling across a river. He built a raft with bamboo and rope to cross the water. After crossing, he picked up the raft and started carrying it on his head. People laughed and asked, why are you carrying the raft? You already crossed the river. The monk said, yes, but this raft helped me. I am attached to it. The people replied, the purpose of the raft was to help you cross. Now let it go, otherwise it will only burden you. This is exactly how life works. Some things and people come into our lives like rafts. They help us cross a particular phase, and then they move on. If we hold on desperately, we are only carrying unnecessary weight. Detachment means thanking the raft and letting it go. So, my friends, don't confuse attachment with love. Love liberates, attachment suffocates. Love gives freedom, attachment gives fear. When you practice detachment, you start enjoying life without being enslaved by it. The secret to stress-free living is this: do your best, love wholeheartedly, cherish what you have, but hold everything with an open hand. Because the truth is, what is meant for you will stay, and what is not meant for you will go, no matter how tightly you hold on. And the day you understand this, half of your stress will simply vanish. Friends, let me ask you something. How many of you have ever been stressed? Raise your hands. Pause, look at audience, smile. Okay, I see every hand is up. And those who didn't raise your hands, you're stressed right now thinking, should I raise my hand or not? Laughter, stress is something we all face. But here is the truth: everything in life, good or bad, is temporary. Just imagine you had a fever last month. Did it last forever? No. You failed an exam, lost some money, had a fight, got rejected. At that moment, it felt like the end of the world. But today, you're sitting here, alive, smiling, listening to me, because it passed. So, the golden mantra I want to share with you today is: don't stress. Everything is temporary. If it's good, enjoy it. If it's bad, endure it. Either way, it will pass. Friends, life is exactly like the seasons. Just think about it. Summer comes, and in the peak of summer, we feel like, oh God, when will this heat end? I can't handle this anymore. Then one day, suddenly, clouds appear, rain starts pouring, and we say, finally, relief. But what happens after some days of rain? We complain, oh no, so much water, so much mud. When will this stop? Then winter comes and we say, it's so cold. When will the warmth return? Every season feels so intense when we are in the middle of it. It feels like it will never end. But has any season stayed forever? No. Nature is teaching us something very powerful: nothing is permanent. In the same way, the seasons of our life change. Sometimes we have the summer of problems, financial stress, exams, heartbreaks, failures, heat is on from all sides. And then comes the rainy season of emotions, tears, sadness, feeling stuck in the mud of difficulties. After that comes winter, when life feels cold, lonely, empty. And finally comes spring, when everything blossoms again, when joy and opportunities bloom. But here's the problems: when we are in our personal summer or winter, we think it will last forever. We panic, we stress. We forget that seasons are meant to change. Let me share a small example. Imagine a farmer. During summer, he doesn't throw away his seeds saying, oh, it's too hot, nothing will grow. He waits for the right season. He knows change is guaranteed. In the same way, when you are in your season of stress, don't throw away your hope. Don't throw away your dreams. Just wait. Your spring will come. And remember, just as you cannot hold on to summer or winter, you cannot hold on to happiness or sadness forever. Both will come and go. This understanding makes life lighter, because when pain comes, you know it's not permanent. And when happiness comes, you learn to cherish it before it moves on. So, life is nothing but a series of seasons. Our job is not to fight the seasons, but to flow with them, because no season ever stays forever. My dear friends, one of the deepest truths of life is this: nothing lasts forever. Neither our joys nor our sorrows, neither our victories nor our failures, neither our health nor our sickness. Everything is temporary. Think about your childhood. Remember the toy that once made you cry because someone broke it. At that time, you felt like your whole world had collapsed. Today, if I give you the same toy, will you cry again? No, because that pain didn't last forever. You outgrew it. Or remember your school exams, that one red mark, that one failure that made you feel worthless. At that time, you thought, my life is finished. Everyone will laugh at me. How will I ever succeed? But today, you smile at those memories, don't you? Because they passed. That pain wasn't permanent. On the other hand, think about the best moments of your life. Maybe your first salary, your first victory, your first award, your first love, your happiest celebration. Didn't you wish in those moments, I wish this feeling could last forever? But it didn't. Happiness also moves on. And that's the beauty of life. Both happiness and sadness are travelers. They come, they stay for some time, and then they move on. The problem is when sadness comes, we start thinking, this is my permanent address now. I'm stuck here forever. And when happiness comes, we try to chain it, saying, don't go, don't leave me. But the truth is, nothing is ours to hold forever. Let me share a short story. Once a king called the wisest sages of his land and said, give me one sentence, one mantra that I can use in every situation of life. When I am sad, it should give me hope. When I am happy, it should keep me grounded. The sages thought deeply and finally gave him just 4 words. This too shall pass. These 4 words became his greatest treasure. When he lost a battle, he remembered, this too shall pass. When he lost money, this too shall pass. And even when he was on top of the world, sitting on his throne in victory, he reminded himself, this too shall pass. My friends, imagine if we carry this mantra in our hearts. Imagine how light life will become. When suffering comes, we won't sink into despair because we'll know it won't last. And when happiness comes, we won't cling desperately because we'll know to simply enjoy it while it lasts. So the secret is balance. Don't get destroyed by pain and don't get intoxicated by pleasure. Both are temporary visitors. Let them come, let them go, but don't let them control you. Because nothing, absolutely nothing, in this world lasts forever. Friends, one of the most comforting truths in life is that every single problem we face has an expiry date. Nothing you are struggling with right now is going to last forever. Just like medicines have an expiry date, just like milk has an expiry date, your problems also come with a built-in expiry date. The only difference is you can't always see the label. Think about this when you had your last big crisis, maybe a heartbreak, maybe financial struggle, maybe rejection, maybe sickness. At that time you thought, this is it. This is my whole life now. I will never get out of this situation. But did you? Yes, you're sitting here alive, listening to this speech. That itself is proof that your problems expired. Let me give you an example. Imagine a storm. When the storm comes, it's terrifying. Trees bend, rain pours, wind roars, and everything looks like destruction. But tell me, have you ever seen a storm that lasted forever? No. Every storm passes. The sky clears, the sun comes back, the trees stand tall again. Similarly, the storms of our life, stress, pain, failure, they seem unbearable in the moment, but they too pass. The problem is, in the middle of the storm, we forget that it's temporary. We start believing that this chaos is our permanent reality. We panic, we break down, we give up hope. But my friends, the truth is, problems are like visitors. They knock on your door, they stay for a while, they create a little mess, but eventually they leave. Let me share a small story. A king once had a very wise minister. The king asked him, "What is the greatest truth of life?" The minister smiled and said, "The greatest truth is that time changes." The king didn't understand at first. But one day, the king lost a huge battle, lost his wealth, and was sitting in despair. The minister reminded him, "Maharaj, time changes. This loss will expire." And indeed, after some time, the king rebuilt his kingdom. Another time, the king was drunk on victory and pride. The minister again reminded him, "Maharaj, time changes. Even this glory will expire." That's how life works. Our difficulties are not permanent residents. They are just temporary tenants. They will pack up and leave when their time is over. But if you lose your mental balance in those temporary moments, if you give up, you will create permanent damage from a temporary problem. Think about exams. Every student panics before exams, right? Sleepless nights, stress, fear of failing. But once the exam is over, that fear expires. Years later, you don't even remember the stress, you just remember the lessons. Or think about your first job interview. The nervousness felt unbearable. But today you laugh at how scared you were, because that nervousness expired the moment you got through it. So the next time life throws a problem at you, tell yourself, this has come with an expiry date. It cannot stay forever. And while it stays, learn from it, endure it, grow through it, but don't surrender to it. Because just as day follows night, relief follows struggle. My friends, your problems are not here to imprison you. They are here to teach you, test you, and then expire. My dear friends, one of the saddest things we often do in life is allow a temporary problem to push us into making a permanent mistake. Stress has a way of making small problems look huge and huge problems look endless. In those moments, we forget that our pain is only temporary and we act in ways that create permanent scars. Let me explain. Imagine a student who fails an exam. At that moment, the pain feels unbearable. He thinks, my career is over. My life is finished. In his temporary pain, he might do something reckless, quit studying altogether, lose faith in himself, or worse, harm himself. But the truth is, failing one exam is temporary. But giving up on your whole education, that's permanent damage. Or think about relationships. A small fight, a misunderstanding, it creates stress. In that temporary storm of anger, we say harsh words, we break trust, we slam doors. But once the anger cools down, we realize the words we used have left permanent wounds. The fight was temporary, but the damage caused by our uncontrolled reaction can last for years, sometimes for a lifetime. I remember once hearing about a businessman. During a market crash, he lost a large sum of money. In his panic, he made hasty decisions, sold off his remaining assets, and closed his company overnight. A few months later, the market stabilized, but by then, he had destroyed everything he had built. His financial loss was temporary, but his rash reaction created permanent damage. This is the danger of stress. It blurs our vision. It makes us believe that the tunnel has no exit, when in reality, the light is just a little further ahead. And in that blindness, we sometimes make decisions that we regret forever. Friends, never forget this pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The situation may be tough, but how you respond determines whether it will leave you broken or stronger. If you take a bad decision in that temporary pain, you create a chain reaction that keeps hurting you even after the problem is gone. Let me share a simple example. Have you ever had a toothache? When the pain is sharp, you feel like pulling the tooth out immediately. But if you go to a dentist, he doesn't tell you to pull all your teeth out just because one is hurting. He gives you treatment, maybe medicine, maybe a small procedure, and the pain goes away. If you acted out of desperation and pulled all your teeth, that would be permanent damage caused by temporary pain. Life works the same way. Don't quit your dreams just because you are struggling today. Don't ruin a relationship just because you are angry this week. Don't give up on yourself just because you failed this time. Problems are temporary. Anger is temporary. Fear is temporary. But the decisions you take in those moments can shape your entire future. That is why wise people always say, never make big decisions in small moments of stress. Wait, breathe, let the storm pass. Once you are calm, once you can see clearly, then decide. Because when the pain goes, you will thank yourself for not allowing a temporary problem to cause permanent destruction. So next time stress knocks on your door, remember this is just a visitor. It will leave soon. Don't let it trick you into actions that you can't undo later. Protect your life, your dreams, your relationships, because they are far more permanent than the temporary storms of stress. My dear friends, whenever something goes wrong in our life, the very first question that pops into our mind is, why me? Isn't it? We don't say, why me? When something good happens. If you suddenly find 1,000 rupees on the road, you don't say, why me, God? Why me? You happily put it in your pocket, a pause for laughter, but the moment pain knocks on our door, failure, rejection, heartbreak, the first thing we ask is, why me? But here's the truth, asking why me will never give you peace. That question only makes the wound deeper. The better question is, what can I learn from this? Because every problem is a teacher in disguise. Think about a school. When you were in class, the teacher gave you exams. And in those exams, she didn't stand next to you and explain the answers. She stayed silent. In the same way, life also gives us exams. And in those exams, God stays silent. Not because He doesn't care, but because He wants us to learn, to grow, to become stronger. Now, when you fail in an exam, do you cry and ask, why me? Why didn't the teacher give me the answers? Or do you study harder, learn better, and attempt again? Life is exactly like that. When difficulties come, instead of asking, why me? Shift the question to, what can I learn from this? What is life trying to teach me here? I'll give you an example. There was once a young man who lost his job unexpectedly. He was devastated. He kept crying, why me? I worked so hard. Why did this happen to me? For months, he remained depressed. Finally, a friend advised him to change the question. Instead of crying, why me? He asked, what can I learn? Maybe I need to upgrade my skills. Maybe this is pushing me toward a better career. He took a course, developed new abilities, and within a year got a much better job than before. Looking back, he realized that losing his job was a blessing in disguise. It pushed him to grow. My friends, every difficulty comes with two sides, pain and a lesson. If you keep asking, why me? You only see the pain. But if you ask, what can I learn? You see the lesson. And that lesson will make you wiser, stronger, and more capable in the future. Let me also tell you this, when you say, why me? You are focusing on being a victim. But when you say, what can I learn? You step into being a victor. Victims stay stuck. Victors grow. Take the example of a seed. If the seed could speak when it is buried in the soil, it would probably cry, why me? Why am I in the dark? Why am I under pressure? But in that darkness, the seed is learning to grow roots. Without that darkness, it cannot become a tree. In the same way, when life buries us under problems, we cry, why me? But maybe, just maybe, life is planting us so we can grow into something far greater. So next time stress or difficulty visits you, don't waste your energy asking, why me? Instead, ask, what is this teaching me? Patience, courage, humility, resilience, gratitude. That shift in perspective changes the entire game. Remember, you can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control how you respond to it. And when your response is about learning and growth, even the toughest problems become stepping stones to success. So, my friends, change the question, and you'll change your life.